Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith, Silent Bob from all those Jay and Silent Bob type pictures, man. And I'm breaking the silence to tell you that you're listening to the Buff and the Blazer podcast with Drew and Toddo. Enjoy the show, kids.
Hey, Toddo.
What's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to episode 63 of the Buff and the Blazer podcast, the show where we break down, discuss old movies, new movies, everything in between. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with my pal, Mr. Toddo.
Yo.
What's up, man?
Nothing much. Allergy season.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of spring.
No.
Pollen is the enemy. At least for me, anyway. Another week, another movie. This one that we're going to be discussing is a bit heavier.
Heavy.
It's a bit heavier than films we usually review, but it's getting all kinds of praise and award buzz. We're going to be discussing Judas and the Black Messiah, directed by Shaka King. This is another like early straight-to-digital release for 2021 on HBO Max. So another
part
of
the Warner Brothers package or whatever?
Yeah, the Warner Brothers lineup of films. Let's just dive right into it, man. What did you think of this film? We both saw it on HBO Max.
So, it's a very good movie. All the Oscar and awards praise is warranted. The acting's really good. It's a heavy topic. It's an era of history that I am aware of but don't know much about and haven't looked into a bunch, because I think my kind of mind was already made up on this subject, like the civil rights movement and stuff in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was already quite clear to me who the good guys and the bad guys are. So this movie was kind of really well made and kind of hard to watch just because you kind of know where it's going the whole time.
Yeah.
And like I said, you there's no mystery of which side to be on in these types of films. But I enjoyed the acting a ton, and there was really nothing I didn't enjoy from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
But it didn't make me feel very good.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, no, I would definitely echo what you just said. It's not one of those movies you put on because you want to have a good time. It's
right.
And obviously, I think that's the intention of the filmmaker. But there is this, there's this underlying sense of dread throughout the entire film. This tension that you get throughout that just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Even up till, I'd say, once the credits roll. Like, you feel it all the way to the end, and it's very uncomfortable. And it's effective in that way. So I think the director did a great job. Shaka King did great delivering that message with that kind of weight. For me, though, I think what made this film so captivating is hands down the performances. Like, so well done across the board. And that's basically what my piece for this week on the website is going to be all about. It highlights some of the performances in the film. And I think Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield both getting Oscar nods for their performances, but both in like the supporting actor category. So it's interesting. I don't know who the main character is in this film then, if that's the case. But at any rate, though, I think they're both pretty well deserved for sure. And
well, they're kind of both in the title of the movie.
Yeah. If anything, it's like they both deserve a co-best actor award.
Co-lead?
Yeah, co-lead nominations, but Anyway, I'm not even going to pretend to know how the Academy operates, but it is what it is. So yeah, for me, I think the most powerful part of this film is, I mean, obviously the story is really timely and impactful and important, but the performances in this film, I think they're going to do pretty well at these awards if I was a voter anyway. So you had mentioned that you weren't super familiar with like the nuts and bolts of this, maybe
dates,
the story.
Individuals.
Yeah.
You know, I know the arc of that era historically, right? But I don't know the details at all. And to be fair, I've never studied any of it, and you don't learn details like this in school growing up.
Yeah.
And that's why the movie kind of holds like an importance, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm the same way, so I wasn't familiar with this specific story at all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, after watching this film, it's pretty sad that I don't know this story. But it is really tragic, I guess is a word to put when it comes to this story. It's and I could see why to me anyway, it's film worthy because of the tragic nature of how these events unfolded. And it is interesting, like, to see. I feel like you're able to get into, and I'm kind of gonna go back and forth between the characters and cast with story. I like how you're able to really spend time with Fred Hampton and Daniel Kaluuya's portrayal of Fred Hampton. And I like how not only are you able to see his public face within the organization of the Black Panthers, the Chicago chapter, but I liked all of the quiet moments too between him and Dominique Fishback as Deborah Johnson. And I thought that really gave you a window in, especially if you're not familiar with the story, into just the character of Fred Hampton and to understand him as someone who's just really convicted and dedicated to the cause. And I thought they did a really good job of getting in to him on a basic human level in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And a part of the story, so before we get into it, we should probably hold back, right? Because this has already been taken off of HBO Max.
Yeah.
It was like a month we had to watch it or something along those lines?
Yeah.
3 weeks. So a lot of people are probably going to end up seeing the movie after the awards.
Yeah, I would think so.
Wouldn't you bet? So I say we hold back.
Okay, yeah.
In terms of spoilers.
That sounds good.
But there are certain things that are basically given away in the title, right, that we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah.
So, in that note, I really enjoyed the kind of self-struggle that Bill O'Neill, Lakeith Stanfield's character, is going throughout the entire movie.
Yep.
Kind of like the stress of what he's doing, and it's all wrapped into his criminal past, his current predicament, and then his historical place. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Totally.
In the movement? And it's so conflicting. All three of them are so conflicting against each other. And the way he portrays that on his face throughout the entire movie. And there's some stuff at the end that I won't give away, but it's like so fucking heavy. Yeah. That his character has to go through and deal with. So, yeah, it's there's a lot of that conflict in this movie per character. Yeah. And I would say Fred Hampton's character kind of has a bit more of the bright side with his personal life and his relationship with Deborah Johnson. Yeah. And it's a bit of a kind of like a bright light in the movie. Mm-hmm. While Bill O'Neill, Lakeith Stanfield's character, it's just dark the whole time.
Yeah. He's a totally haunted character.
Yeah.
Throughout the film. And I'm sure there are a bunch of people who already know this story anyways too, but the end of his road is super tragic. It's it's just man. And then Lakeith Stanfield's performance in that role too is so well done because he has to like shift back between being part of the Black Panther group of things and like really buying into the cause and coming across as someone dedicated while also pulling off the other side to his character, to the person of Bill O'Neill, the informant. And like you said, even without words, he's able to convey so much emotion on his face and
Yeah.
just guilt, I guess. And
Yeah, guilt is the perfect word.
it's
And
it's
I guess
really
that's kind of a
haunting.
good, analogy for the title of the movie, right?
Yeah,
Because it has all kinds of religious connotations for lots of people.
right. Yeah.
And that story, right? That Jesus story.
What did you think of the title? Like, do you think the title was pretty relevant to the story they told?
Yeah, and it grabs a lot of religious folk that know that story and can relate to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But to paint it in this civil rights context, I think is really clever. It's almost like pitting those ideas against religious folk
Oh, okay. I see what
in
you're
a
saying.
way, right?
I see what you're saying.
Like drawing them in with the biblical kind of title,
Yeah.
but then portraying a similar story for black people, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just so deep and there's so much to go into
I know.
on the
it's-
race and religion side that I don't know
Yeah.
if I really want to.
No, I totally understand. But yeah, so we kind of got into character a little early, but I think it's worth really taking our time with the characters, quote unquote characters. They're based off of real life individuals, but
And we want to steer away from story, right? Because
Yeah.
the story is the movie.
yeah, like if just the fact that this is based off of history is fascinating to me, because this is
it
almost
surprising to you?
It's not surprising, but what I'm
Okay.
saying is this is something you would think someone would come up with just out of pure creativity, putting pen to paper. And the fact that this happened in the way it did, while not unsurprising, it's sad how incredible that it is. Like
It's sad. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.
it's extremely sad. And for those who aren't familiar with the story, it's a really interesting one. So yeah, having not known about the background of Fred Hampton and all of the stuff that went down, I was completely engrossed in the story because it's sadly just ridiculous. Like,
Well, you can empathize with all sides in this story,
Yeah.
right? You can understand why Bill O'Neill is doing what he's doing
right.
from a self-preservation standpoint.
Yeah.
You can understand the passion that, Fred Hampton and the whole chapter in Chicago has
Mm-hmm.
for their movement,
Yeah.
for the arc of history kind of
Right.
relatability. Roy Mitchell, played by Jesse Plemons, you can understand what he's doing. You don't have to really agree with
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And how good is he in this?
Yeah. This is our second film with him in it, right?
I think more than second. He
Or
did,
did we do another one?
or maybe I just know him from Breaking Bad. But he
Oh,
was,
okay.
that was like your best movie of the year, right? For
Yeah, I'm thinking of ending
thinking of
things.
ending things.
Oh, was he in The
But-
Irishman too?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right. He was in
that's
The
what
Irishman.
it was. That was
Yeah.
a long time ago. A long ass movie.
Yeah, he's
But,
another
like,
one.
What I said at the beginning about you kind of know who the bad guys are from a historical perspective.
Right.
And spoiler alert, it's the fucking FBI.
Spoiler.
But they're the bad guys. But
J. Edgar Hoover, spoilers.
you get Roy Mitchell represents something that everybody knows about, right? This like privileged smoking cigars FBI agent doing horrible shit under the
Oh.
guise of doing the right thing for national security, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like every character, you get it. You get what they're going through and you get their motivation very well.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to Shaka King being able to execute this screenplay so well. You spend enough time with each of the players involved in the film where you're able to kind of get that sense. And like Jesse Plemons, his portrayal of Roy Mitchell is also really interesting for what you said is he comes across as like, I want to do good. I'm trying to do this to, help society out and do the right thing. But he's also a cigar-toting FBI agent that has no problem wielding his power and like flashing his big FBI dick around. It's,
Yeah, and you get the sense that he does sympathize a bit with the movement.
yeah,
A bit, but not enough to change his actions.
right. So maybe he's a little more gray than what you would think. Whereas like you have Lakeith Stanfield, who's also somewhat gray, probably more so. But yeah, he's just trying to get out of his own personal pickle. And one thing I thought was really interesting is the way they open the film. And this is like the one detail I will say is how they play up that he's like this double agent kind of thing. He's like this informant. And I liked how they opened up the film that way.
Yeah, it's almost like that
It's like
one crime
foreshadowing.
really, really bit him in the ass and
Yeah.
put him in the position that he was pretending to be in the beginning.
Yeah, and I was watching some behind the scenes video, and they did say that he was a car thief. So Bill O'Neill was a car thief, and I think that was a true event where they basically blackmailed him to kind of join their cause and become an informant. I guess not join the cause, but to recruit him as an informant.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
is blackmail the right word?
No,
I don't think it is.
no,
It's
What
basically
would
a
you say?
plea deal.
yeah, that's all it is.
It's basically like you do this and you're not going to go to jail
Right?
for the crime you committed.
Yeah.
I
And to understand the weight of that too, Fred Hampton goes to jail for what, 2 to 4 years because he suspected they charged him for stealing what, like 70 gallons of ice cream or something like that.
yeah, it was some bullshit
Yeah.
that they got him on.
So that gives you a sense of like what Bill O'Neill's prison sentence might have been for stealing cars. So who knows? But yeah, it's all just really fucked up. It's that's what.
Yeah,
it is.
it's a fucked up movie. It makes
Yeah.
you feel like shit, but
It's
it's
really what it
really
is.
well done.
Totally.
And you got to acknowledge the importance of it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I don't think we'll say too much about story.
Yeah, we'll stay away from it, but the general gist you can get by the title.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of touched a little bit on Daniel Kaluuya.
He's so good.
Yeah, so
I've
he's
never
an
seen
English
him
actor.
before this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was in Get Out.
I haven't seen that.
Another really great performance. But what did you think of him as, while you and I are probably not as familiar with Fred Hampton and the historical figure of Fred Hampton, but in terms of him playing the role of a leader of a movement, I totally bought into.
Yeah, I bought into it. However, from my personal stance, the whole like preacher kind of thing,
Yeah.
I have a really hard time relating to.
Okay.
Like somebody standing in a room and giving a rousing speech.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time relating to that social dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been in a church, with that kind of dynamic. I've never been at like a protest
Okay.
with that kind of dynamic. I don't know. It's just really hard for me to like, I guess, put myself in that room
Mm-hmm.
with like the energy
Yeah.
and being really kind of life or death for something.
Yeah.
And I feel like the 20th century was like the whole world was in that stance, in that kind of being for something,
I get you. Yeah.
whether it's like the communist stuff or the civil rights stuff or the anti-war stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe growing up in the 80s and 90s when it was pretty mellow,
Yeah.
and that's also my bias of, the way I grow up. But it's really hard for me to relate to that kind of social dynamic. Have you ever been at something like that?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's, yeah, like you said, it was during a time, I guess, that was really in that space where you had a bunch of different influences going on at the same time. But what I will say is that I totally bought his conviction.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm not saying I don't
Yeah.
buy any of his performance or anything.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to relate to that.
Right.
So like literally that social dynamic.
mm-hmm. I'm not too familiar with it myself, to be honest. Like, the only thing I could even compare it to maybe is like some of these rallies we see on TV with figures but like I've never
been to
one.
any of them,
Yeah. I've never been to one. So I wouldn't be able to comment on that either.
Maybe a concert is the closest thing, but I've never been at a concert where it was like that politically charged.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, Daniel Kaluuya, his performance, anyway, we can definitely comment and say that it's awesome in this movie.
How cool is his cadence and the way he draws things out when he speaks, especially at like when he's giving the public speeches?
Oh, so get this. So I looked up videos of Fred Hampton on YouTube
Okay.
of him speaking, and he totally draws from that.
Yeah.
Like the cadence, the quick cadence
It's
of
like
his speech.
speaking in jazz almost.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like quick and then really drawn out and slow, and then like it's so interesting.
Yeah, so that's the kind of vibe I got watching Fred Hampton, like videos of Fred Hampton. So he definitely was able to pull that through. But yeah, I thought he did an amazing job.
It was so good.
And then Lakeith Stanfield, who may have even gone above and beyond even that performance, I thought totally knocked this one out of the park. And while I think everyone can kind of relate to a sense of guilt, maybe not on this level, but being haunted by something that much to where it's like you dream it and you live it every day, it leaves a hole in your gut when you're watching this guy in this role. And that I can connect with. That was pretty powerful. And I thought he did an excellent job.
I wonder what the breakdown is when people watch this movie of who can empathize with Bill O'Neill
Yeah.
and who just absolutely see him as the villain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wonder what the breakdown in reaction is
Yeah, I don't know.
from the viewer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then the fact that they have footage of the real Bill O'Neill at the end,
Yeah.
that just like,
Fucking
that's another
heavy.
gut punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, super heavy. But so what, have you seen are you familiar with Lakeith Stanfield's other work on his IMDb? He's been like, we did Knives Out, right? He was in Knives Out. He plays like a super straight character in that movie.
I think he was my favorite character in that movie.
Yeah. He's really good. And then like he's been in comedies, he's been in dramas. His range is massive.
He's in Uncut Gems.
That's right. He's in Uncut Gems too.
That was awesome.
Yeah. He was in
I love
Selma.
him, man.
Yeah, super talented guy. And I think I was reading too, he's a rapper too, but I'm not familiar. And he's from Victorville? High Desert
He's
guy?
from Victorville?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, he's from the High Desert. So
That's funny.
yeah, the dude just has like all kinds of range.
I like him even more now.
Yeah. So yeah, I liked his portrayal of Bill
There's
O'Neill.
not one thing you can say bad about his performance.
I think most of the performances in this movie, they're all just
all of them.
Yeah. We mentioned Jesse Plemons. I totally buy him in that role. The one dude I will mention on that side is Martin Sheen as J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
Creepy. Super creepy.
That's the exact word.
Yeah. I figured it was him. I wasn't sure, though. I was like, I kind of get like a Martin Sheen vibe. And then when I
It's
saw
the
it was him-
voice.
Yeah.
The voice gave it away.
And so just like a really creepy presence on screen. So he did great. And then Dominique Fishback, was this our second film that she's been in?
Yeah, she's Project Power.
Project Power.
But she has probably the heaviest scene in this movie.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that, but I
It's-
also think she gives this film its heart.
Yeah.
Like she gives this film a lot of its heart with the quieter moments between her and Daniel Kaluuya. I noticed that anytime Daniel Kaluuya's on screen, he has like this massive presence, like in any scene he's in. But whenever she's on screen with him, it's like she goes toe to toe with him, but also she can even like overshadow him at times. Cause she's like, I don't know, she just has a really powerful vibe going on.
Yeah, and
Whenever
she's
she's
so
on screen.
smart in this movie.
Extremely smart, and she kind of breaks him out of this like this shell, and you find out that he really is kind of this like shyer guy.
Yeah. The scene where they meet and she kind of puts him in his place
Yeah,
with the poetry angle.
right.
I found that quite interesting element of the movie because she really drives home to him that like his speaking, the manner in which he speaks will carry more weight if he works on it kind of thing.
Yeah,
Right? And I
Right.
thought that was pretty interesting element to the movie.
No, I loved all the scenes with them together. Some really tender moments too. She's gonna be like one to watch for, because she's picking up on a lot of these like really solid roles.
This movie is like a look into the future of Oscar winners over the next decade.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would bet money on it that one of these guys is gonna walk home with Oscar gold.
If you had to bet the money, which one?
Lakeith, for me.
I would say he has to carry more weight, emotional weight in this role than Daniel does. Even though they're both great, I would say Lakeith has to carry more angles and more emotion.
Yeah, a little bit more dimension, I think.
Yeah, that's the right word, dimension.
Just, yeah, from the nature of the character he plays, or the person he plays. So yeah, I would give him the edge over Daniel Kaluuya, but it'd be nuts if one of them didn't walk away with an award.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We left out a bunch, but
Character-wise, there's so much. But the characters we touched on, they're the whole movie.
Yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on the cast before we move on, other than fantastic?
I really enjoyed. I can't remember which character it was, but when they meet up with, I forget the other name. Forgive me, of the other kind of militant group in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it happens a few times, right, where they have these cool kind of meetings, these like really tense, really standoff kind of meetings.
Yeah.
I enjoyed those scenes so much.
Like the tension with those
tension
meetings?
And like the amount of dudes in the room.
Yeah.
And the like just because I was watching everyone's faces throughout all of that, because a lot of it is shot from opposite perspectives.
Yeah.
Where you can see how many people are there.
Yep.
And I just love that. And like the dynamic with Bill O'Neill and that one guy that's in there that he stole the car from.
Yeah.
And he's like realizes it, and like, oh, there's just so much going on in those scenes. I wish I could shout out every actor that was in those scenes. It's so cool.
Yeah, I think definitely the highlight of this film are the performances, period. They're just so well done. I guess we can move on to the next category we usually talk about, which is like the production side of things. Cinematography, look, FX. The cinematography of this film is really interesting, because I think, for me anyway, what I picked up on is sort of this documentarian thing, and we just talked about Nomadland last week. And so I liked a lot of the handheld camera stuff in this film, and I liked being able to follow around the characters within the headquarters, within bedrooms, getting really up close and personal with them. And then I will say the last scene of the film, the last major scene that involves...
Major scene?
Yeah. Like the climax of the film towards the end.
All right. Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about. The way
not the last clip, but
not the last clip.
Okay, yeah.
That whole sequence, I think, was shot incredibly well. And it like highlighted the tension, the suspense, and then the absolute just explosion of the final moments of the film. Like I felt like the entire weight of the film just came to a complete climax with that scene, the way it was shot. And it was really all very, very effective.
So intense.
Yeah.
That you like feel you're sitting in the couch in the apartment, right?
Yep.
When all that shit's going down.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, as somebody, because like I had a very like almost like a 70s style movie making vibe.
Okay.
From this, almost like, I don't even know how to relate it to something. I just got like, I know it took place before this, but it just like,
well, you're not
the
completely
opening
wrong.
scene when he's walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then into the pool hall, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It just had like this very kind of cool 70s vibe to me in the way it was shot.
Well, it takes place in that kind of, you know how every decade, it's not like the 80s stops and then the 90s begins. There's always that like transitional period between like the late 80s and the early 90s, late 60s, early 70s. And I feel like this story takes place right within that period. like 1969, 1970. But yeah, I kind of got that too. Like even with the kind of the costuming and the cars and stuff,
Yeah.
there is something there that's reminiscent of the 70s, or at least the early 70s.
And there's, I can't really think of any. Is there any like big wide shots that come in on this? I don't think it is. I think the movie is very like up close
Yeah.
from a frame standpoint.
Yeah.
You're always like in a room or the camera's like on the table
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff.
And probably for me, now that I think about it, one of the more interesting shots of the film is the very beginning when you have Lakeith and he's like pacing outside.
Yeah.
The camera follows him and it kind of does this round robin thing. And he's like pacing and then it goes around him again and then it finally follows him into the door. And I thought like some of that stuff was really interesting. The way it
Really
was shot.
cool.
Yeah. And it kind of gets you into, it's almost like a visual representation of his headspace. He's just kind of like, not sure if I should. Okay, I'm going to do it.
Right? There's so many scenes where you're so close up on him when he's going through either realizing what he's going to have to do
Yeah.
or, because it happens periodically throughout the movie,
Yeah.
or feeling guilty about what he just did.
Right.
And you're so up close in his face.
Yeah.
Like a scene that really stands out to me is like the final meeting they have at the bar
Yeah.
between him and Roy Mitchell
Mm-hmm.
when he gets his final marching orders, you know?
Right.
So fucking heavy. And the camera is like sitting like where my bong is relative to me right now.
Yeah.
Like that close on the table. And you can just see every little bit of, you know, things rattling through his brain. It's a trip.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not uncommon either for conveying emotion. Like, so we talked about Nomadland last week, and there's almost no dialogue in that film.
Mm.
You notice how many close-up shots there are because that's what you're trying to get across is like, what's on this person's face? What are they thinking? And those are some of my favorite shots, period. Like, I love anytime you can get up close and personal with someone on a camera, more so than like the really impressive action sequences where everything's kind of zoomed out.
Yeah.
I love getting up into the face of actors and like being able to capture emotion like that. And this film does it really well, like you just said. What about, there weren't a whole lot of FX in this film, but a lot of like really well done like shootout sequences.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a pretty epic freaking shootout sequence.
Yeah. I've never been in a situation like that, but it all seemed pretty realistic and really
Yeah, it was really
dangerous.
tense. And like I found myself while like halfway through that scene, because it's pretty long,
Yeah.
I found myself being like, holy shit, like how did this even, like this is a true part of the story, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And like how did it escalate that insanely, you know?
Yeah. I'm not very familiar with it, but I did look up some images of the headquarters.
That has to be there was so much detail in that
Yeah.
whole scene with the street it was on, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so intense.
But yeah,
man.
the building was shot up, and it looked like they did it justice in terms of the accuracy. But yeah,
just
and then-
adds to the tension of the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's all taking place in like downtown Chicago, like right there,
Something like that. I
in
don't know,
the heart of
somewhere
the
in
city
Chicago.
almost. Yeah, it's
Chicago's
crazy.
pretty damn big. You ever been there?
I've never been.
It's huge, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. If your reference is LA where we live, it's like that's just not even the same thing. It's a totally different thing.
is their pizza as good as they say?
It's not pizza. It's delicious, but it's not pizza.
All right.
It's just like I don't know. I don't want to get into that.
All right.
But it's delicious still.
Side note. And so that leads us to another aspect of this film that I think is pretty spot on with the vibe I think they were trying to go for in this movie and the soundtrack, the score anyway. So we were talking a little bit about it before because I actually went back and listened to it on Apple Music, and it's only 30 minutes. The movie's 2 hours long, 2+ hours long, and the soundtrack, the score, it's not the soundtrack, the score itself, the orchestrated music, quote unquote, is 30 minutes. And just like the film, it's very suspenseful and has this like feeling of dread. And I
Yeah.
think it highlights that whole vibe of the film. And I loved how it's kind of like percussive too. So it has like a beat, like a cadence to it. And that kind of goes back to Fred Hampton almost, like the style of his speech and even the overall structure of the film. It's very much like there's a beat to it that ultimately comes to like a crashing halt almost. And it's you're waiting for the moment almost. I hate those films, like in terms of the feeling it gives you. There's been like a handful that I've seen, but when you get the sense of dread from beginning to end because you kind of have an idea of where it's going, once you get there, it's like it leaves a hole in your gut.
Yeah.
And you get that vibe from the score.
Yeah, the score totally highlights that. It's got kind of like this very background, very like slow gallop all the way through the movie that kind of picks up at hectic times a little bit, but not so much that it takes over, you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done, and I usually talk shit about score, but I thought it was spot on. And like you, I had to go back and listen because it didn't stand out in my memory, and sometimes I take that as a bad thing. But then listening back to it, I was like, oh yeah, it just like added to like the overall. I've been trying to think of how it made me feel watching it, and the other movie, Uncut Gems, didn't make me feel the same. Yeah. That one was more of like a pure stress.
Yeah.
And I like the word you use is dread.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like really kind of, you know where it's going and it's not good.
Yeah.
And the music just carries you by the hand along.
Yeah, it's really weird because usually I'll remember, at least a little bit of like the score and it'll stick with me. This film, not so much, but then when you go back and listen to the score itself, like alone, you totally remember moments of it in the film.
Yeah. You remember where it was in the movie and stuff.
So it has that weird quality to it. So I think it was effective. But yeah, very interesting.
I'm with you on that.
For sure. Well, we've reached that point of the show, as we always do, where we got to dive into our love hates. So you wanna start off this time? You probably did last week too, but let's start with you.
I can't remember. I love the performances, man, and particularly Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya, man.
Yeah.
They're both so good. I can't say enough good things about how good it was. It's kind of like a most impressive part of the movie. In an overall really well-made movie, they stand out to me.
Yeah.
And then what I hated is just the feel factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make you feel good watching it, even though you acknowledge how important and good it is.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't even need to say mine. You already said it.
Same deal.
No, it's I think for sure the performances in this film are stellar. And so I love Nomadland. I love Frances McDermott's performance in that film. And the performances in this film I think are even more powerful.
Very different.
Very different. But what's nice is I don't have to pick one or the other because they're in different categories. So I hope both of them win. Although Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya, I don't think can both win because they're in the same category. But I'd be shocked if one of them didn't take home an Oscar. So yeah, I loved all the performances in this film. And then on top of that, I think it was really well directed. And to be able to tell this story effectively and get into the minds like what you said, where you're able to kind of see where everyone comes from, like regardless of what side they're on. That's a quality of a good director. And I think rather than, it's easy to create the story, even though there is like, a good side and a bad side. I think Shaka King makes it a little bit more interesting than just pure good versus bad or villain versus hero. And he makes it a little bit more interesting where you're able to kind of understand, I guess, a little bit better rather than just surface level of some of these characters.
Understand, I think, is the key word there, right?
Yeah.
When you're telling based on a true story type movie that has historical significance and weight, it's really smart to not so much let people make up their minds for themselves, but just present everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a great way of putting it, yeah.
Because like if you were to play up the whole good bad thing, it just really highlights how gray the human experience is.
Yeah.
Right? Because you in a vacuum, you could look at Bill O'Neill's motivations and be like, that's the bad decision, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But the movie takes the time to point out, what would you do in this situation?
Right.
You know, you're facing, what was it, 12 years in prison or 22 years or something?
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's interesting.
He definitely gets, I think, he's definitely responsible for a lot of that depth that we get. So hats off. And I'm looking at his filmography. It doesn't look like he's directed a feature film since 2013. So kudos, massive kudos. And then like you, in terms of rewatch factor, these aren't like my favorite kinds of films when they're like, they just make you feel. They make you feel. I guess is a way to put it. They
I don't like feeling, damn it. Give me my bong back.
I don't like to feel. It hurts to feel. And so
that's funny.
Yeah, that's the effect this film gives you. And I don't know how I'd feel going back to watch it a second time. It's difficult and it's really heavy.
Well, you can't do it until it comes out because it's not on HBO Max anymore.
That's a good point. But it is, I think, especially if you're not familiar with this story, it's definitely worth a watch, I think.
It's one of those need to watch movies
right,
and acknowledge, but it's not like going to be hitting your lineup. Maybe it is. I don't know. Not for me.
Yeah, not for me either. It's definitely not one I'm going to snuggle up in a blanket and watch.
That's interesting because I thought to myself a few weeks ago, we've been doing the podcast for a little over a year now. I was like, how many movies have I gone back and rewatched just in that time span? And it's only 2.
Uh-huh.
There's only 2 on the list, Atomic Blonde and Sonic. I watched Sonic the other night, and it was awesome, by the way. Can't wait for the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, not a lot of movies I go back and rewatch. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, there's been quite a few for me. I'm trying to think of like some of the other heavy ones we've done that I haven't gone back and watched. But yeah, definitely worth a watch for sure. So let's give it a rating. It's something we kind of do on this show.
You go first.
All right, I'll go first this time. I mean, just going down the categories and looking at this thing, objectively, I have to give it a 5. It's so well made. It's well directed. It's well acted. It has some really interesting choices with cinematography and production design. The score is incredibly effective, and I liked it. And this is separate from the feeling it gives me. I liked how effective the storytelling is in this movie. A lot kind of like, I kind of put it in that same camp as, so a film I'm kind of like this with is Saving Private Ryan. So there's something about that movie where I have a hard time going back and rewatching it because it's really heavy and powerful. And this is kind of in that same camp where it's extremely heavy, incredibly powerful, but I appreciate it as a piece of art, as a piece of cinematic art. And so for that reason, I really, really enjoyed it in terms of that art that's out there for people to watch and consume. So I got to give it a 5. I'm giving it a 5 buckets of popcorn.
So how many is that for you this year?
Is it 2? I think it might be 2.
I've given out 3.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have I'm going to have a cop-out score.
Okay.
On this one. So it's getting all the technical. It's getting a bong load for characters, acting, score, cinematography, all that stuff.
Okay.
Look and feel, all that. And I'm going to give it a half on the feels, the umami category, because I acknowledge how important it is and how effective it is.
Yeah. But
I don't like feeling like that.
Yeah, I get you.
However, in my cop-out move, the acting is so good that I am going to give them an extra half, bong load and a half, for the performances.
Okay.
So I'm going to come back up and hit it at 5 bong loads. So that's a disclaimer on that one. It's the first bonus point or anything over a full point I've given.
I get you.
Because it's that good.
What were your other 5s? Do you remember off the top of your head?
News of the World.
News of the World.
Nomadland.
Nomadland. And this one?
This one and Promising Young Woman I gave a 5 to as well.
Oh, okay. So 3 of those are nominated for Best Picture.
Damn right.
So you're not too out of your mind to give those fives. News of the World, interesting. Like that didn't get
It didn't get
more
no
buzz.
love, man.
Yeah, no love on that one. But yeah, definitely those other three though, for sure. They're getting all.
You want
kinds
to
of
talk
buzz.
some shit on the Oscars after we wrap this one up?
Where are we at? Almost an hour. We could go longer, but I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, why don't you do the outro, and we'll do a bonus Oscars shit talk afterwards.
All right. Well.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, I think clearly there's something to be had for watching this movie. It's worth watch whenever they get it back out into. I don't even know if you can buy it right now, but it's not on HBO Max anymore.
It might have been wise to put in HBO Max for a while and then pull it out because things are starting to open back up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
so
they usually
could
do, like,
release it in the theater.
Yeah, they usually do like an Oscar rewatch or re-release in the theater kind of thing for like all the nominated films. So
It's
At
a
any
need
rate-
to watch movie. It's
Yeah.
not you might enjoy it. It's a need to watch movie.
yeah, for sure. And it's really powerful. It's chocked full of great performances like we just broke down. So it's definitely worth the time to get it on your list. But that's all we got. That's episode 63 of The Buff and the Blazer. And we hope everyone has a great week. And we will catch you on the next episode.
Peace. All right.
All right.
Let me pull up these Oscars, you too, and let's
Okay.
go through it and talk some shit.
Okay, let's do this is our little bonus here. All right, the 93rd Academy Awards. All right, so where do we want to start? We want to just start with
Just
the big
go
ones up
down the
front?
list, man.
Okay, so Best Picture, let's start there. This is like,
Oh, so yeah, they want to start at the bottom of the list.
yeah. Well, it's the top on mine.
Oh,
Well, anyways, so this is like the big one of the Oscars. We got The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and Trial of the Chicago 7.
hold on. Oh, never mind. I was on the wrong category.
Okay.
So we
So I
haven't
haven't-
seen a few of these.
No, we haven't seen all of them, or at least haven't even done them on the show. But so we've done Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, Mank, Judas and the Black Messiah. I think there were a couple noticeable omissions from some of the films that we've done.
Fucking get Mank off there and put News of the World on there.
Yeah, and I was saying too, how is Borat not on there?
Yeah, how's Borat not there?
Yeah, so that was kind of shocking to me. Mank, okay, so Mank, I'm not entirely surprised that it's on there.
It just verifies the shit I talked when we did it.
Yeah,
Mank
right?
is in like every category on this list.
And I think the other reason why it's probably on there too is because of David Fincher. Like he's one of those directors where it's like, oh, what's David Fincher's next film? I don't know. I don't even remember what I scored that film, but I could understand it being on there. But I think there's other films that they could have put in there that were more deserving.
It's just on there way too many times.
It's almost in every category.
It's
isn't it?
almost in every category, and it's
Yeah.
just like a giant circle jerk. And that was like my criticism of the whole movie in the first place. Even though I think I gave it a pretty high score.
Yeah. I think I did too, if I'm not mistaken. But so yeah, that's the best picture category. Then we got director. We have Lee Isaac Chung for Minari, Emerald Fennell with Promising Young Woman, David Fincher for Mank, Thomas Vinterberg for Another Round, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland.
Chloe
Chloe.
or Emerald.
Yeah. And yeah, I just think Chloe's going to walk away with this easy. I don't know. Maybe that's my bias. I like that movie so much. Well, okay, so going back to Best Picture, who do you think's going to walk away with that?
Probably Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, I could
I
see
think
that.
that's going to win Best Picture because of the weight that it carries.
Yeah, and I think just that movie has a lot to deal with. I could see that one easy getting that award. Promising Young Woman, I think, is kind of a long shot. I wish
I don't
it
think
wasn't.
It's really good, but
Yeah,
I don't think it'll win.
it's good. Trial of the Chicago 7, too, I think is another film that's probably in there, even though we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we didn't do that one. That was like right around election season.
But yeah. And then I'd be
And
really
if
shocked if
nobody's
Mank...
noticed, I don't like talking about politics that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Let's go down to Best Actor. So we got Riz Ahmed, Chadwick Boseman, Anthony Hopkins, Gary Oldman, and Stephen Yeun in Minari. And I haven't seen a lot of these films, but
I don't think we've...
man, Anthony Hopkins, that dude's like still kicking ass.
We haven't done it.
No.
Can't talk too much shit about it.
Yeah. Chadwick Boseman, he's always good. We lost Chadwick Boseman.
Soul will win music.
Yeah.
Trent Reznor.
He got nominated again.
Yeah. And
Damn.
John Baptiste is on there. Atticus Ross. They'll win that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope they win that.
Christopher Nolan getting the snub. He got one nomination for product design.
Yeah.
People don't like him, huh?
I don't know.
Do the big movies never get on these lists?
Yeah, the blockbusters usually have a hard time getting like the real big awards.
They just do a biggest budget
Yeah.
award.
Yeah, best blockbuster or something. Crazy though, so like in
Most
70
money spent.
Yeah. In 77 or 78, how would be 78, I would think. During those Oscars, Star Wars got nominated for Best Picture.
Oh yeah.
And I guess for the time
Must
it
have
was
been
like
a down year.
So a Woody Allen film took the award though. Oh gosh. See, I don't even like to remember the title because it just blows my mind. But Annie Hall. It was some film he did in the 70s that ended up taking Best Picture. But yeah, so occasionally a film will get a nomination. And I heard that, so The Dark Knight was a film that came out, I forget what year, like earlier 2000s, and they wanted to give it a Best Picture nomination, but at the time the number of films that were eligible for the Academy was like, it was really, really small. And so the next year they expanded the amount of films that could be included because of that. So that would have been like an Oscar nomination for Nolan. Not for Nolan, for the producers actually, because they're the ones who walk away with the award for Best Picture. So that's interesting. Let's see.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Explain the difference to me between adapted screenplay and original screenplay.
So adapted screenplay is anything that's adapted from something that was previously written, like in a book or a comic.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And
An original screenplay was something that was written specifically for the film.
But there's two of these. Okay, so there's at least one. Borat is a book. Borat's on adapted screenplay. And then two, I don't know about Minari or Sound of Metal, but two of the things on original screenplay are historical events. So how is that original when you're making a movie out of a historical event?
Well, like
you get my problem with the word original there?
Yeah, and I think that's an inconsistency in the Academy in general. Like we were talking about
and then how is Borat on the list with like all these other ones that are from novels?
Yeah. And then we were also talking about the best supporting actor. It's like, okay, how is one of those actors, Daniel Kaluuya or Lakeith Stanfield, not nominated for best actor? So it's...
Yeah, like if you're going to put them on the list, why don't you put them both on best?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It seems strange.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the Academy. Oh, cinematography. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, News of the World, Nomadland. We've seen all of those, minus The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Mank does not deserve to be on that list.
But it's black and white, and it's about Hollywood.
That's my point exactly.
Yeah. No, I think Nomadland walks away with that easily.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, but
how is Judas?
It's almost
and the
like cheating, right? Because they're just using the beauty of the American West, to win that award.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of looking at it. It's a cop-out.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you're using the most beautiful landscapes in the country.
Yeah.
News of the World's awesome.
Yeah, and then Judas and the Black Messiah too. I thought had a lot of really interesting cinematography.
Yeah, I would bet it's similar to the Trial of the Chicago 7 style.
Yeah, and then I want to talk a little bit about costume design. Like, how is Judas and the Black Messiah not in there?
How is Mank in there? You guys just opened up old storage units on the soundstage and grabbed shit.
They went into their lockers. They're like, yeah, we got all this shit from the 30s still.
Pinocchio. There was a Pinocchio movie this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
Was it like a real life Pinocchio, or was it animated, or what?
Real life. I want to say it was a foreign film too. Out of Italy. Oh, France.
It's a rated R version of Pinocchio.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mulan's pretty cool in that sense too, though. The costume design of Mulan.
Yeah, I like the nomad get-ups. I liked all the military get-ups.
Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? What about score? We already talked about that.
Soul.
I think we'll get that. Visual effects, film editing. Yeah.
The fucking Mank is in every category, dude. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Best actress. I think we skipped over that. We got Viola Davis, Andra Day, Vanessa Kirby, Frances McDermott, and Carey Mulligan. The United States versus Billie Holiday. That was Andra Day. And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Viola Davis.
This one's hard because we haven't seen 3 of the movies.
Nah. I'm familiar.
I'm going to go with Carey Mulligan, though.
Yeah.
That character she played is so tormented.
Yeah. All these actresses are, like, awesome. I don't know. I have no idea. Vanessa Kirby's really great. Viola Davis is awesome. Yeah, who knows?
Soul's going to win for animated.
Soul, yeah. And that's a Pixar film. Pixar usually, that's like an automatic almost all the time. What about Best Supporting Actress? So we got Maria Bakalova. It's awesome to see her in there.
Bam.
Glenn Close.
That's the winner.
Hillbilly Elegy. Olivia Colman, The Father. Amanda Seyfried in Mank. And Young Yoo-jung in Minari. So yeah, we've only seen Mank and Borat. But yeah, how awesome
Bakalova, dude.
Yeah, Bakalova made it.
I hope she wins.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
When are the Oscars?
April 25th. Yeah, they're doing this weird thing. So usually they're at the Dolby Theater, and they're gonna be co-hosting sites now. It's gonna be at the Dolby Theater and Union Station
In L.A.?
in LA. So that'll be interesting.
I don't think I've ever watched one. I don't think I will be. There's usually a Lakers road trip when the Oscars happen, right? I used to do it at Staples, or no?
The Oscars?
Something. There's some type of Lakers road trip award season thing that
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's the Oscars. It might be whatever the other ones are.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, those are just some of the categories, I think. But yeah, I think we have some dogs in this race.
They need to put up some criteria, man.
Yeah, and then I just don't know how you become a member, like a voting member of the Academy. It's really weird. I don't know how it all works.
We won't be voting on it ever.
No,
So
that's
we'll
true.
just talk shit.
Yeah. We can talk all the shit we want.
All right.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on the Oscars.
A little too much Mank over there, Academy.
Yeah. A little
Chill
too much
out.
Mank, a little not enough Borat.
Not enough Borat. And do you notice, what's his name? Jon Stewart's not on here anywhere.
Yeah, I thought that was
For
going to get some kind of
Irresistible.
writing credit at least.
Something. That movie was great and important and clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy. Well, yeah, that's cool. Nice little breakdown of the Oscars. But we'll probably have something more to say once the actual awards are given out. So
We'll try and do a couple of these movies over here.
Yeah.
Before. How about that?
yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea.
Word.
All right, people. Have a good week.
Peace.